First of all, congratulations on Earth. It's a most excellent planet, and Bill and I enjoy it on a daily basis.
Yeah, not to mention your other great planets. Mars, Jupiter, Uranus. But the point is, okay, we died.
Most unfairly.
But we won the chance to come back. And we need to construct something to help save the women we love.
Yeah.
Hello, listening people.
Hello.
Hello, Bartek. Are you feeling very spit and polished today?
Your name's Ryan, and I do feel very spit and polished today.
So you're feeling hello, Ryan? Like you're feeling my name and that? You just need to interject that my name's Ryan. Maybe I'm not feeling Ryan today.
Well, see, it's always a bit awkward when
Maybe I'm feeling like bad Ryan.
It's always a bit weird when you introduce it without going that. And you're listening to Spit and Polish Presents. I'm one of your hosts, because then it's like I have to answer your question and also fit your name.
This
into it.
this is how you do it. I'm doing very well, Ryan. Done. Nailed it.
I'm feeling very well. Co-host Ryan Slowinski.
Insert name here.
From New South Wales.
Insert birth date, pin number.
September 5th, 1993.
Yes.
5555.
5555.
Your pin number's really easy, Ryan.
It's. I didn't choose it. That's the bank.
Oh, you kept the default one?
That's the bank's fault. I didn't choose it. We're here to do Pictures Powwow, the show in which we talk about a movie that has come recommended, and the recommendation goes in cycles. It goes Bartek, myself, then the listening people, and that is you, the listening people. You can recommend a movie to us.
But not this time.
After this one, you can recommend it, because this one's already a recommended episode. At the end of this one, I'm recommending a movie. Next episode, you can try and recommend one, and if you do, maybe you'll be selected. How do you feel about that? Well, you'll have to find out when you do it, and if we actually give your movie the honor of being chosen. But Bartek...
You see, I was being really antagonistic there, and you just gave them the full explanation.
I doubled down. I guess Should we do Double Down? That great film?
I guess I am evil Bartek. Yeah.
You're evil Bartek, and
Lartek, or whatever it was.
Ratek. Your evil brother Ratek. We are here to talk about a movie that you recommended, Bartek, so walk us through.
Yes, it's the beginning of a new Pictures Powwow cycle with my recommendation. I have recommended Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey from 1991.
Yes, and for those people curious, you're looking through our feed, you're typing in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. We haven't done a review on that. Bartek wanted to jump to the second one straight away.
Go find San Dimas School of Film episode on Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. I talk a little bit about Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
And I talk about Bogus Journey being better. So here we are. Oops.
Oh, you gave it away.
I gave it away. Oopsie. My history is I grew up with this, as did many people our age. We grew up with the Bill and Ted movies, or at least were having some familiarity with their existence, and I grew up with both of the films, and I always gravitated towards this one. It just appealed to my sensibilities. I love how weird it is. I love the humor of the movie. It has so many wonderful and amazing, and there's just so many things I can't wait to talk about here. Bogus Journey is my favorite Bill and Ted movie. It is the standout to me. I understand the appeal of Excellent Adventure. I do, but this is the one that's won my heart. So when you recommended it, I was excited, because any time to talk about this movie and the interesting details and gags and characters and moments, I'm always welcome to doing that. So what about you? What's been your whole relationship with this?
Yep, so I discovered Bill and Ted later into primary school, so early to mid 2000s. Discovered it with my stepbrother, but we first watched Excellent Adventure. We really liked it. It was just a really fun time, and I know that we rewatched it a lot. But we also watched Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, and I think I've already said it in the past on this podcast, but Dude, Where's My Car and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey was like constantly playing in our room, you know, around that time. It was just like you know, in a default moment of there's nothing to do, just put on Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey in the background, even if we're doing other things. It was just, we really, really enjoyed it. We've watched it definitely way more than Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. And ever since, you know, the later parts of that time, you know, I hadn't really rewatched the films. So when we did Dirty Rotten Scoundrels on St. Demas, I think it was like almost 2.5 years ago at this point. Time has really flown.
A fellow Australian podcast covered this. We covered Dirty Rotten Scoundrels with them, and they're big fans of these movies. People, you should check them out. And they've done episodes on the Bill and Ted movies, and so obviously them being obsessed with it, we have to bring it up when we come on there. Was there any other reasons that we brought it up other than you wanted to just watch it just so that you could talk to them about the Bill and Ted movies in some way? Like, was there any actor in Don't Run Scoundrels that I'm forgetting that's in these movies at all?
No. The only reason I watched it was because the premise of their podcast is like, we watch all these films and then we compare it to Excellent Adventure. So I thought, oh, you know what, just for fun, haven't watched Excellent Adventure in a long time, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
Yep. And that was first time watching that film in a very long time. And, you know, after all the love growing up for Bogus Journey, I was like, oh man, this was actually, you know, I should have given this one a bit more credit because, you know, so much attention to Bogus Journey, you kind of forget the original one. But then I thought, oh man, when I get back to Bogus Journey, I might really love it. And, you know, it's been some time. And then it was my recommendation this time. So I thought, let's do Bogus Journey.
My relationship hasn't changed. I love this. Usually when I watch these, I watch them together. I didn't get the chance to do that this time round because I was busy when we were having to do this. We're doing this during the Easter time, so I have a few things on, so I had to prioritize. So I did just do Bogus. Like, when I do watch these, I do watch them in tandem with one another, but I always have my preference. And so I watched this on its own, one of the few times I've done that, and it hasn't changed. It is just, to me, a perfect studio comedy American movie. It gives me so many laughs, so many smiling moments, and also moments of, that's brilliant. I love that, and that's stupid. I love it,
and just the difference to Excellent Adventure. Like, you haven't rewatched it back to back, but I'm sure Excellent Adventure is very straightforward, very mostly lighthearted.
You mean they don't die and go to hell?
They don't die and go to hell. The original title of that film was not Bill and Ted Go to Hell.
Yeah, you're right. Although this is a very traditional sequel in the sense of a lot of it is the same story idea, but the execution is drastically different in ways. Obviously, with what I love about the Bill and Ted movies, these two, the third one's its own thing, and it disappointed me in this regard, is I like that they weren't just a time travel based series. At first it was, and then the second one's like, no, we're going to go supernatural and go to hell and heaven, and we're going to meet aliens, and we're going to meet death himself and deal with our evil robot selves, and it's all of that crazy nonsense. And so, yeah, my relationship hasn't changed too much revisiting this. What about you? What was it like to come back here, especially with all of that history you just went through?
Yeah, it was also a really good time, and just being able to appreciate just how different it is from the first one, just the really, I guess, bold moves and the interesting visuals. Like when they go to heaven, it's this giant place and it's like a painting, and hell itself is also in the film.
And when they go to the future, we see the future for a bit in the beginning of this movie.
Yes.
And it's the building that they use. The exterior is used in a ton of movies. I'm pretty sure it's used in Biodome. I think it's like a water filtration or something weird in real life. It's something specific, and I'm maybe getting that wrong, but it's mainly Starfleet Academy in Star Trek. Like in all of Star Trek, it's Starfleet Academy. There it is in the background, that building and the body of water there and the garden and all that. Like the garden bit where they have their statues standing up. I've seen so many scenes in that exact spot without the statues there in Star Trek.
It must be before Bill and Ted became, the saviors of history.
Yeah, that's right.
But the whenever I've thought of this film, like my mind always for some reason jumps to the place in hell with all the doors, just that really tunnely place. It's so dark, so four-way intersections everywhere. It's just really
Imaginative.
really imagine a lot of really striking. Again, a lot of scenes, just locations in it are really striking. Like the place where they get killed with the Star Trek thing.
Yes. Yes.
The
Vasquez Rocks. Yes.
Vasquez Rocks.
Which is in like every movie, I swear. They go there a lot because it's right in LA area. You just drive out a bit and go there. And there they are.
I do like though that the film begins on that scene from the future where Rufus is bringing in all these people from the past, and that does feel like a slice of the first film. Like, hey, remember the first film? This is the film where we brought all these historical figures, and they're escalating the joke a little bit by having a made up person from the 23rd century.
Mm-hmm. And the lead guy from Faith No More, the band, which is a real guy.
Station.
I don't know why he says it. He's from our time period. No. Well, I guess technically he's the version of that guy from the future because they treated like they created this thing,
You
and
found
the guy's
Faith No More Foundation.
Yeah, and he's
like
just
that.
Station. I don't even know where to begin with the whole station thing. That's like one of the most baffling things.
It is, but I love it.
I love it too.
Yeah, so you get this slice of, hijinks, people from the past. This is like the sequel, but then it gets interrupted, and the rest of the film's not really about time travel. Like you still have historical figures appearing in like heaven and hell and stuff like that.
They still use time travel at the end of the film to do elaborate little dumb tricks that don't make any fucking sense.
Yeah.
And it's stupid, but I love it. And they teach themselves how to play guitar.
When it comes to time travel, like we've had conversations about it even back in like the Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time episode.
Amazing film.
A very amazing film. Unappreciated masterpiece. Go watch it.
Our first Ben Kingsley film.
Yes. First of
many.
Two? More?
Many. Isn't every episode got Ben Kingsley in it somehow?
Have we done any Pictures Powwow with Ben Kingsley?
I'd have to double check our catalogue and get back to you, but I hope we have.
Thank you. That's my request.
That's your request. Thunderbirds. We do that again.
I think one of my first big laughs happened, and in that scene where Rufus was talking about and we're going to do this and this in future classes. He brought up next lesson we're going to bring in Benjamin Franklin and Aretha Franklin. I was just like, what's that going to be about?
Being two Franklins, of course. Yeah, I did really appreciate coming back here, seeing the way that they do the sequel thing that movies do, especially for a sequel of comedy, where you're taking the basic roadmap and altering it ever so slightly. Hey, now she's married to my dad. And he still calls her mum and everything, and it's just so silly. And
she's your mom, dude.
She's in the third movie, Missy. Same actress. So
I still have to see the third movie.
It's fun. It's stupid. It's very stupid, and they obviously rework things, but from the ending of this movie. But okay. I just want to get straight to it, to the meat and potatoes of the movie. There's two things that I would describe as cinematic perfection in this film. I've brought them up over the years on the podcast.
I know one of them, and you are very right.
One of them is the scene in which they possess
oh yes, that one too.
their father, one of their dads, and a fellow police officer, and seeing those two guys, especially the dad.
Oh, the dad was so good.
Pitch perfect play them is cinematic perfection. I would argue he should have won an Oscar for that performance.
You're honestly
fucking amazing.
If
the other guy was good too, but
if the Academy Award is meant to be for nailing the performance, this guy nailed the performance, because
and he's funny in all three films, by the way. He's in the third one. He's the funniest one at the third one as well. He's funny in all of them, but here you were saying if he should have.
This character right here, Ted's dad. Assuming you've watched the first film and all of the second film up to this point, you've probably seen him in a good 20 minutes of runtime total. You get an idea that he's like the military dad kind of.
Cop dad.
He's a cop, but he's always threatening to send Ted to military school if things don't go right, and he's very straight-laced. Yeah, he's
angry.
He's not exactly the wacky, funny character, but in this scene, this character who you've built up this image of is now possessed by Ted, and in real life, he's not being possessed by Keanu Reeves. He has to act like the Ted character.
And that's something important too. They're not doing the quantum leap thing where we are seeing Keanu Reeves and they're reacting. No, we are seeing the guy pretend to be Keanu Reeves Ted playing this, and it is cinematic perfection. I think it is one of the greatest examples of acting in a comedy film I've ever seen. The physicality, the voice, the comedic timing. It's beautiful. And even then, I want to just rebuff a little thing of you said is in this film though, they do make a little bit of him a little bit more goofy with him and Missy.
I was about to say
was going to be the thing where they've kind of shown him earlier in the movie to have that comedic angle that we'll see here a little bit more. And in the third film, he's amazing. He's even more justifiably angry because they've been doing this shit for decades and have gone nowhere. And spoiler alert for the third film, it has one of my favorite dumb Bill and Ted logic gags. He gets killed as he gets vaporized by a laser with his police van, and they go to hell, and it's him and the van are both in hell. The van went too for some reason. And it makes me laugh because that's the Bill and Ted logic where it's oh, then his van would go too. And it's just that detail cracks me up almost as much as this whole scene. But then the second guy, the other cop guy, do you recognize that actor?
I remember that we once had a thing where we were confused about where we've seen this guy from, and then we realized, it was the other guy that got possessed by Bill. I couldn't remember who it was, so I looked it up. I'm of course, it's from that thing that everyone's from.
Which is?
Babylon 5.
Oh, not Tango and Cash?
Was he in Tango and Cash?
He was the one that got away. We had a whole bit dedicated to the fact that in Tango and Cash, there was this one fat, slimy, sweaty guy who was a real piece of shit, who was on the to-do list, and they never got to him. I know him from Total Recall. He's amazing in Total Recall. He's in Star Trek.
I looked up his filmography. I didn't see Tango and Cash on there.
Yeah, pretty sure it's the same guy. And so... Yeah, no, I know it's the same guy. I'm not.
No, I remember.
He's
put
in
the phone
Total
down.
Recall. He's in Babylon 5 in one of the best episodes, you could argue, in Babylon 5, one of the series finales, and he's awesome in it. And to see him here doing this, I was there he is. I've grown up with this guy in so much. Total Recall, Star Trek, Babylon 5, this. I didn't grow up with Tango and Cash, so I can't say that. But
again, the Ted Zad nailed it, but I wish this guy could have gotten a bit more time as well.
But he was good.
He was good.
He was good before he even got possessed. He was pretty funny.
I do like
your son's playing in the band. He's making fun of him. It's so good.
I do like his first line when Bill possesses him. I totally believe you, dude. That's one of the lines I always remember.
Is that this? The other thing, the second thing that is cinematic perfection is William Sadler's performance as Death.
Mm-hmm.
Every moment from him, serious or funny, is beautiful.
Again, both of these things you just mentioned, I remember liking them growing up and thinking oh yeah, they were pretty good. But yeah, Ryan's laying it on really thick here. Now that I've rewatched the film for the first time in forever, he was getting me every single line pretty much.
I wasn't laying it on thick enough. I really need to stress, William Sadler as Death is in my top 3 comedy performances in an American movie. For sure. He's awesome. He's so good.
Well, he's lame, but that's awesome.
Well, yeah. He's so good that you don't even think about that William Sadler's 2 roles in this movie. Do you know that?
Oh, he's the British My Word guy?
He's the dad. Yeah. The British dad with his actual real life family, which is cute.
Oh, that's
cool.
But
he's so... I don't even know. He's so good in this that, I'm envious because I will never be able to play a character like that the way he does here. And he's a guy that we've had on the podcast before as well. He was in Rocket Man.
Mm-hmm.
He was my favorite aspect of that movie, which was pissed off guy in that movie. And I was I love him because I love William Sadler and I wish he was doing something more fun like he does in Bill and Ted. And you're he's Death in Bill and Ted. I'm yeah, he's really good. I mean, it's a classic joke, isn't it? Where you take the scary, imposing figure and make them dorky and lame put them in silly situations, and they still have to have that level of dignity that they had, but you see it falling to the wayside, and they eventually embrace it, or they don't, and it's funny either way, and that's where the gag mainly comes from.
And even like before the first gag with him, he is that serious kind of betrayal character.
Yeah, he's the seventh seal, Death. He's menacing, and he's got the accent, and William Sadler too. The thing is, I know you may not have the deepest familiarity with him as an actor, but William Sadler is a guy who is, I would describe as a versatile and dramatic actor. He is somebody who would play real villains. I mean, he's the villain in Die Hard 2, for instance. So it's not as if they got a comedy guy. It's not as if they got Jim Carrey to play Death. A part of the joy of watching William Sadler's performance is he actually can do the dramatic side of this really well as the silly side of this. Like, you could watch a real movie of him playing the Grim Reaper, genuine and serious with no comedy, and he'd be fucking great. And he's fucking great here because the switching of it is what works. Like, him going from being the Seventh Seal reference to being this brilliant comedy character and comedy performances is absolutely a joy to watch. But yeah, I wanted to hear your takes a little bit more on it, because yeah, I've been laying it on thick on this podcast. I think from pretty much day one of this podcast, every time it comes up, I'm like, I have to just really lay on thick that no, he's great. Death is great. So I just wanted to, hear more about like what were some standout moments for you.
Definitely growing up, my favorite scene was always, them playing the games with Death. Because, again, it's that escalation thing of, like, even though they've Melvined him and, they've already, established a precedent for doing silly things with him, the established thing of you have to play a game with me and if you want another chance to live, and the fact that Bill and Ted get to pick the games, and obviously they pick board games, silly games like that, and then you get this serious character just sitting in front of this tiny battleship board, like and it's not even like shot in a goofy way, it's straight on, but it's just this look of He's perplexed. And he gets upset when he misses, gets upset when he gets hit, and then gets happy when he does hit.
Best of 3. Let me guess, best of 7. You're right. You're damn right.
That's another line I always love. Best of 7? Damn right.
My personal, it's hard to say because he is one of those, every moment he's on is a 10. So when I say favorite, I'm just picking one that's coming to my mind that makes me laugh.
Which 10 out of 10 moments your favorite?
Which once in a lifetime piece of brilliance in cinema are you going to pick for this one, huh? Out of all of I really love when they're nearing the end there and he is getting jealous of Station. And getting all of this praise.
I made the wigs. I pushed the cart.
And then the butt comment, like, I have a nice, it's a nice butt underneath the robes too. And then they're just like, okay, Death, like, calm down.
Yeah, we've seen your feet. That's good enough.
We've seen the feet. And that's him looking at different scythes to get while shopping and deciding, I'm going to go with mine. Mine's good. Or
was it a scythe or was it a hoe?
It was garden hoe. And he's like just looking at different things. I also really appreciate when they walk past the smoke and it's like, I'll be seeing you soon. I love that.
And the guy was like actually kind of
concerned. Yeah. It is. I feel like I have so much to say about it, but at the same time, like, it is just saying he's amazing over and over and over again. Like, he's so good that he would reprise his character in other things, such as Tales from the Crypt. There'll just be episodes where he's a fellow host, or he's in stories as this Death.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because he was just so good. Why waste it? I'm
glad they didn't.
So you can watch him be this character of Death and a few other things, and it is a delight. It's a delight. And when they announced Bill and Ted 3, I know our friends at San Dimas podcast and a few other people are just happy that they're doing it with the actual, like, oh, look, it's Bill and Ted, and the creators of Bill and Ted are still creating this, and they appeared in this movie.
The Chris and Ed, right?
Yeah, and so people were happy with that, and all I wanted was William Sadler's death. And we do get him in the movie. He doesn't get as much as I would have liked, but what he does get is pretty good. He's still good. But I was just concerned, well, we better get death. We better get death. And we do. He's very good in the movie, and he seemed pumped to do it again because William Sadler likes playing this character. But I just wanted I don't know. He's just... It's the master stroke of the movie. I was going to ask about the cop scene, the possession scene, if that was like the best scene in the movie. Like, I was going to say, is that the centerpiece scene? Because when I think of like the big, like, why this movie should exist scene, it is them using their ghostly powers on people like that, and going to the seance and doing all that, and then going to hell and all that. And to me, the comedy peak of that is them possessing Ted's dad and the cop guy, because those guys fucking nail it and it's hilarious. But then it's like, it's death, isn't it? Like the real thing about the movie for me is when you have the picture of Bill and Ted come back, we have a comedy sequel, they go to hell, they die, they go to heaven, and all of that kind of stuff. You're like, oh, that sounds great, that's awesome, and it is. But what really, really sells it to me, what makes it go beyond the pale, what makes it go beyond being just a fun movie to being a great movie, is that possession scene, but mainly it's William Sadler's death.
With the death character, much like other great comedy films, Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, you get the big character like once in the first half, and then the second half, they're like a mainstay. You get them all the time. And definitely, because it had been a very long time, when I was watching the first half, I'm like, oh yeah, this is quite a long time before they get to like death being, the third member of their group. But they're doing interesting stuff, like they're playing around with like this is like in the first film thing of like, hey, it's the future us's, like we should trust them, like they did good last time, and they're getting unsettled at the fact that they're telling them to shut up and they're driving them for a really long time. They see death and it's like this really dark thing, and then obviously when they're the ghosts, you get all of the ghost hijinks, which is the big scene. The amazing special effects when their girlfriends walk through them, which I was going to say that's the highlight of the ghost scenes.
And the seance. And
then the seance, and then you get the hell stuff, and then you get death, and that's where, I guess as we're saying, the movie truly begins?
No, for me it's when they die.
Yeah. No,
because death true. Immediately... Oh, well, no, in all fairness, I don't want to hear the Bill and Ted fans ripping their hair out. The robot thems is also a sell of the movie. Seeing Keanu Reeves and Alice Winter ham it up as the evil versions of them, where they say the lines "robot chubby" and stuff like that, and the they were the framing. Like, I love. Obviously, it's done for practicality sense, but the framing device, like the visual framing of they're on the opposites of each other all the time. So, like when we see them framed in a shot, Ted is on the left-hand side, Bill's on the right-hand side, and then the evil versions are mirrored, they're flipped. And obviously that's for a practical sense, like, say, when they're throwing them off the cliff, it's easier to have Keanu Reeves throw Alex Winter off, and then the opposite, instead of them throwing themselves off the cliff. But, like, I like that attention to detail, but also their performances. So, to give it credit, like, we love death, but it really does start with get the cat, and like trying to aim for the cat. Like, those two, perfection as well.
I guess it's very hard when you're comparing it to, as you said, two of the Hollywood comedy bests. But definitely they're a lot of fun. Like, there's the attention to detail stuff you said, and then just the really dumb, obvious stuff. Like, hey, let's still be like the exact same characters, but like dickish and mean and trashing something for the sake of trashing it rather than just being normally messy kind of thing.
Yeah, and they're still dorks.
Yeah, they are. They're basically the same characters, but really evil. Like, it's not so much that it's the robot Bill and Ted who have evil inclinations. It's basically just the same characters, but evil, and they have to be robots.
and it's because one of the great things about Bill and Ted, these movies, is you have these lovable fools who stumble their way through plot line to plot line, beat to beat, and they have this really naive logic that you get swept up in. It's idiotic logic, but you love it. And the villainous versions, have the same kind of dumb logic. Like, I really love when they find out that they're alive. They're like, oh, they're alive again somehow. Awesome. It means we get to kill them again. Like, they don't question how they live. They're just like, awesome. It means we get to do this. Great. Ooh. Or when they meet the good robot thems, they just immediately accept that they've met their match, and they just like lean in and be like, kill us. See you later, Ted. See you later, Bill. Like, boom. Like, they just accept it. And that's truly amazing, is you have that, but they're doing it for evil things. Like, they're truly horrid to the babes, but I love that they keep referring to them as the babes and the girls and the princesses. Like, they keep doing it, but it's like in a very derogatory sense now because they're evil.
It's like when they get like horny over them, it's like later, and it's like, ooh.
Yeah. Ah, man, but it does take a little while for death to come in. But when he does, I mean, when I was watching it last night, I made a note. When they Melvin death, and then they're walking away, and they're like commenting about, oh, I can't believe we just, gave a Melvin to death. Whoa. I looked at that and said, that's a line that the movie spawned from, probably. Somebody probably had that line, and it just spawned from there. Like,
if not the movie, like, we gotta have like the Grim Reaper, like, be this kind of character. If we have the line,
let's give him a Melvin.
And then he'll tell God, they Melvined me. I almost feel like I'm doing a Betty voice when I do his impression. They Melvined me. With Evil Ted, after they push him off the cliff and they notice the Porsche driving in the distance, I love that he has to like move his fringe, and then they make like a little binoculars sound effect.
It's like Terminator.
And then later when the villain Denomolos is like contacting them, the evil Bill has to move the head to like communicate with him.
I thought that was a wonderful touch. That's the thing. These movies, as silly as they are, they're crafted so well. Like, yeah, there's many plot holes and logical inconsistencies and blah, blah, blah. But then also it will be a movie where you have those comedic details that make you laugh, that make you smile, that make you go, oh, that's great. I love that, of course, death, it has no shoes on, and we see the shot of his feet. And like, I love those type of things. Or when... there's just too much. There's too much. Like, I'm getting a headache thinking about like how many great moments and scenes there are in this movie. Like when they go to the seance and Missy immediately is like, they're evil souls, I'm gonna send them to hell. And I nodded going, yeah, that makes sense. I like that she's doing that. Cool. And that it works. And they go straight to hell, and I like that they talk to Satan, and they're like, hey, he's an alright dude. And then he's not an alright dude, he's a prick. Who would have guessed? I didn't realize until...
And the Satan thing also was like a genuinely like kind of scary design. It wasn't like goofy.
yeah, and I loved hell. It was a really fun design of hell. It's like they say, it's not like the album covers. It's different. And then they go to their hellscape tortures, and... they're genuinely fun and weird and crazy. Like
like you start with a kind of serious one, but then like you get the childhood ones, which is like, oh, this is like warped.
Yeah, and did you ever know, or was it until this rewatch, or just me telling you now, that Alex Winter plays the grandmother? That's him underneath all that makeup.
You told me this once, and I forgot all about it until just now.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I remembered that when I was watching.
Well, I'll show you the scene, and you'll be like, oh, God, it really is him underneath all that makeup. He just loves doing that kind of shit. He just loves doing that. And, I love the color palette, the vibrancy, and the almost sickening set design in those hell things, where everything's kind of warped and big. It's got that real 90s aesthetic, this movie.
Yeah,
in lots
very
of ways.
Cartoonish. Like, kind of reminded me, like the doors when they walk in kind of reminded me of like Rocko's Modern Life kind of thing.
Yeah. I thought about that too.
Yeah, and then, one of them had like the really blue room, the other had the really pink, these like, funky 80s almost colors.
Yeah, 80s, 90s. Far out, man. I mean, what's the thing you want to talk about with this? I mean, this is your rewatch after quite some time as well. So Where do you want to go? What do you want to talk about? What's leaping to mind?
This has been a really gushy episode, hasn't it? What haven't we gushed about yet?
I'm going to say it's a flawless film because its flaws make it flawless. I can't walk in here and say, actually, this bit sucks. Like, I don't know. I don't feel good as a critic saying, like, I'm going to give it a pass because it's just so fun. But that's the truth. It's the truth.
I mean, look, it's a comedy.
I'm giving it a pass because I fucking liked it. It was fun.
If the comedy film is fun and funny, yeah, obviously it's a pass.
If the characters are likable, if the comedy's smart and fun, and if the music's good and all of the
Like,
acting's amazing, then I don't care.
Like, even before we started recording, we were talking about, like, the last Denomalo scene where they're
doesn't make any sense.
Where it doesn't make any sense, and they're doing the whole thing of, like, well, to defeat you in this moment, we are going to do the thing we did in the first film, and we're going to go back in time after this to give us the stuff that we need to defeat you now, and then the things just start happening.
Yeah, and that makes sense, but then it doesn't make sense when his gun transports into his hand. That's not how that works. And then...
Well, he's from, like, few centuries in the future,
no,
maybe.
But they aren't. I don't know. It doesn't make sense with, like, the time. But
that's right, yeah, because
the
they gave him the gun.
They gave him the gun and they gave him the key, and I thought that was... It's still clever, but it's stupid, and we could pick it apart. We could pick apart the fact that they travel, like, their solution is to off-screen learn how to play music and then come back, and they have kids and they just do it, and I don't care. It's just, this is going to be a gush thing because it's nostalgic for us, of course, but also, as we talked about so many times when we did unappreciated masterpieces, sometimes the flaws of a movie are what give it character.
We talked about this literally like 5 weeks ago with Are We There Yet? Didn't we? Yeah.
It's not a perfect film. But in a way, it being imperfect is what makes me like it. It doesn't outstay its welcome. The characters remain fun, airy, likable protagonists and villains even. If my biggest complaint if I had to have any genuine complaint in the movie is, could have used more George Carlin.
I was literally about to say that, yeah.
But then you watch the first movie, he's barely in it either. He has the opening monologue, he has his little bits, but he's not as heavy in that movie either.
I know that for his high billing, he's never in it that much, but he really only had 2 scenes this time.
What's missing is, at the beginning of Excellent Adventure, he has the monologue, which George wrote, and it sounds very much like a George Carlin kind of dialogue. I don't get the sense that he did any of that in this one. They just had what they wrote for him. And
he didn't talk to the audience at any point.
No, but or he didn't write his own dialogue, because I think what was great about him in that movie is there's so many moments in the first one that it feels very him. We had that sensation when we watched Jersey Girl, when he was in Jersey Girl, where there was so many, that's a real George Carlin type thing. This one doesn't have that really as much. It's more he's in it. Hey, Pam Grier was here though.
Yeah, and she was George Carlin.
She was George Carlin all along. Pam Grier, where she's basically the teacher role from the first movie, the older, more dignified black actor that they have in the movie who's like hoping that they do well but is pressuring them. It's a super specific thing that they've got going on in here, but I don't know.
I will admit though, at the very beginning of the film, it's just like, look, I'll give you guys a chance because of this reason. It's like, oh, that's pretty weird. I forgot that she was George Carlin until like right before the reveal.
I will always remember Pam Grier unzipping herself and becoming George Carlin.
It's like the moment she called them gentlemen, I'm like, oh yeah, that was George Carlin, wasn't it?
It's
and
George
unzip, like, here it is. Yep, there's George Carlin.
Yeah. I
swimming in sewage no longer.
I mean, what else do you want to discuss here? I mean, have you got any questions about anything in relation to the other movies or this, or any specific scenes you want to dissect?
We haven't yet elaborated on Station. Because surely we know exactly what Station is, right?
It's the alien, of course.
It's the alien, but it's also a thing people say.
From what I understand, it was like an error in the script that happened, and they thought it was really funny.
Yeah, they were like drunk when they noticed it, so it was funny.
So they just kept it in and exacerbated it and just kept doing it, and it is an in-joke.
It is very spadoinkle. to bring back my first recommendation, actually. But it's also a character. Cannibal the Musical did not have a character named Spadoinkle, as great as that would have been. You okay, Ryan?
I didn't expect to hear Spadoinkle again, but I'm glad we heard it again.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's like, what was his ex-wife's name, or the woman who left him?
Leanne?
Yeah, and how that's an in-joke, but if you know it in the South Park and other projects, it's really, really funny how spiteful he is about it. Like, I'm laughing about it right now. Station's one of those where I never noticed it until somebody pointed it out and then said, do you ever wonder why that's there? And I never did. I just went, oh, that's just part of Bill and Ted. They just say things.
Well, it's
they say words.
It's such a prominent thing in Bogus Journey, but it wasn't a thing at all in Excellent Adventure. So it just really makes it stand out when you have that first scene and Faith No More guy just goes, station, and then they respond station. Like, that's the thing you do. It's like Zoltan from Dude, Where's My Car? And then just throughout the film, like, other characters who are not just, regular humans from the present day who just say it. And it's like, oh, this is like a
saying,
a future thing that's really common in these otherworldly places.
Like with most Bill and Ted movies, it suffered a lot of production and financial issues to create it. I think there's a quote, I think it's to this movie, where it is, I think Keanu Reeves jokingly said, like, I can't remember the exact phrase, but it was, they were going to call it, like, Bill and Ted's, like, editing nightmare or whatever, because it's, like, they had to rip out whole scenes. They couldn't even film them fully. They just went, nope, that's gone. We're running out of time. We're running out of budget.
Oh, yeah, there was meant to be another scene with Bill's dad, like fighting the evil robots or something.
And there was meant to be, when they're driving to the gig, the manifestations from hell, like the bunny and the soldier and all of that, rise up and attack them. And they're having this whole sequence where thematically it would have tied into them overcoming their fears and struggles. It would have been more of a, but no, they don't have, there's pictures of it, of the bunny, like it's like a full grown, like huge monster. They just couldn't do it. There's not enough time. And like, if I did have to make a serious complaint, you can tell the third act of this movie is just them running, like not the characters, the movie, just like, we've got to get there. And then freeze frame, music stings up, and then pictures of stock things that apparently the writers didn't want. That was a studio thing. Like the end credits in the director's commentary track.
Oh, like all the news. Okay.
They didn't like that because they wanted to make a third movie. And that stops them from doing a third movie. Because at the end of this one, it basically says they fulfilled the thing properly. Here's what happens. So they're like, oh, fuck. So in the actual third movie, they somewhat address those things. Like them and Death have a falling out in the third movie because of his solo album and all of this other stuff and negotiations of contracts and things.
Right.
So he moved to hell and he's like an accountant there, or he's doing work there, and he's like really pissed off with them. But in his office, he has like all of the merchandising and albums, and like he's like nostalgic for it, but he's dead, so he's like a petty little bitch about it, and it's awesome. But like, yeah, so there's stuff like that once you think about it, you kind of notice it. The first film suffered from things like this too, but I don't think it's as strongly noticeable. There are things like in the first movie, I think Red Letter Media pointed this out. I've never noticed this before. And then Alex Winter commented on it because he follows them and he interacts with them. In the first movie, I think it's everyone in the audience is eating like custard or like chocolate custard or something specifically weird. And it's like, why is that happening? It's like, oh, because in the original script, we got cavemen. And they came with us, and they had this, and it just never made it. But that remnant remained. So those movies, all three of them, even the third movie, none of them are like perfectly executed in the way that they were envisioned. They were always compromised in editing in some way, shape, or form, where there's always remnants of what the original scripting was supposed to be, or half-baked ideas never got to fully come to all the way. But yet, wouldn't you agree after hearing all of that, yet these movies still work.
Well, I was about to say, for this film in particular, you said, the third act's kind of the one where it gets where it gets a bit fast. That's also the one where death is with them the whole time. And I guess also, the third act, we don't see as much of the evil robot usses with Bill and Ted until, the Battle of the Bands, which is the big goal. And I guess also, thinking back on it, the introduction of Station, the two little guys, and then them becoming the one big station was 2 scenes later. So
yeah, it is very much yes and. Oh, now we have an alien, and now it turns into one big alien, and we go to the store.
And Big Bum,
and robot usses. Why do we need robot usses? Why? Well, I don't know. Just do it.
Thumbs up.
Oh, here we go. The princesses are useless characters in all these films. They're just there. And, little Bill, little Ted, but it's charming. This isn't the Snowman, where the Snowman couldn't shoot all of its film and had to edit this nightmare together, and it's 2.5 hours long and still doesn't make any fucking sense.
No, this film kept all of its pieces that lead to the ending. Yeah,
there are some things where, I'm sure CinemaSins would have a field day. Ding, 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 but that doesn't matter.
Talk, beat death at the game, go to heaven, talk to God, get told about Station, go get stuff to make robot, he makes robot, they go to the climax. It's very fast, and when you think about it, again, fast, and clearly things were cut out, but it's all funny though.
Yeah, it's all pretty good. I don't have much else to say. I have maybe 1 or 2 things about music that would just kind of be me on my soapbox here talking, because I know you're not as detailed and familiar with the music-y side of things when we talk about movies, but is there anything else you want to kind of tackle? I do want to say, praise the thing that you said about the third act has death in it. So the sloppiness almost doesn't matter because I'm enamored with the best character, so fuck it. I mean, I guess we should say that the 2 lead actors, it's Keanu Reeves, who's a legend, and it's Alex Winter, who, he's more of a director nowadays, but these movies exist because of how well written and how well performed Bill and Ted are. Bill and Ted are great characters. I don't want to say this movie doesn't work because this movie only works because William Sadler or the dad possession. No. Those 2 are so good. I've never had a love or hatred of Keanu Reeves. I've always felt indifferent, but I've always loved Keanu in this because this was the one movie of that era that just let him be him in a movie, the surfer dude, the airheaded woe guy, but in a genuine comedic context and not he's the chosen one in the Matrix. Yet he's still Ted.
He's the world's biggest hard drive. I guess I'd never really thought about this before, but maybe it's the thing of Excellent Adventure. They're the huge thing. It's them interacting with all these people, bringing their own things to it. And this is still present in Bogus Journey, but we have all of these other grand elements that is also vying for our attention. So it's they're as good as ever, but they've also got, as you said, 2 perfect Hollywood comedy things going on, all of these interesting visual things going on. So it's, they're the same and they're great. But we gotta also focus on the other things, and that's kind of where our gushing went.
Yeah.
One thing that I did notice in the credits, after all of the newsreel stuff, was it was just a cute little detail that I think it was in the section with the cameramen.
I saw this.
You saw it too. There were 2 camera crew members named Bill, and they were nicknamed Evil Bill and Good Bill,
which I thought was very cute.
Which it's very cute, and also gives you, as subtle and insignificant as it might seem, gives you a look at what it might have been on the production side of things.
The atmosphere.
Maybe the people actually were having fun making this film, and that's that gave me a nice little smile.
Yeah. Music-wise, I grew up with listening to the guitarist Steve Vai. He's a guitarist, obviously. That's his thing. He does all this elaborate stuff. He came from Frank Zappa's school of musicians and all of that. And he does some guitar work for the final bit at the end, especially the guitar solo at the beginning. And if you know Steve Vai, you can tell He has a very specific way of playing the guitar. He's very showy and very flashy. And I've never thought about it. Like, I've never really looked it up. But when I was watching the movie, I'm like, oh, that's got to be Steve Vai. And then it is. So there you go. That was just a little detail for the people who like that kind of music stuff in there. I just wanted to kind of highlight that, yeah, I noticed. And I enjoy too.
Is he like a composer guy? Or is he like from a band? Or?
Well, he came from Frank Zappa, who was a musician, singer-songwriter, who he would have, cavalcade of musicians come and go into his collective of things. And then Steve Vai, he will just tour. Yeah, he will write his own stuff. Like, he is just he's a musician. So his albums are just instrumentals, guitar. Like, it's him showing off how good he is at the guitar. And you can see him live. He will often be at concerts like G3, which is like 3 great guitarists teamed up together. So it's like Jimi Hendrix, right? Where Jimi Hendrix, it's like he's a guitarist. He's a big musician. Mm-hmm. So that's Steve Vai, where it's like he'll do covers of songs and his own songs, and it's mainly about the guitar. It's like him. There's another guy, Joe Satriani, and there's several others that he tours around with sometimes. Sometimes it's just he will team up with other great guitarists and they will just jam. Mm-hmm. So it is lots of instrumentals. He doesn't sing, he just writes music. And so he has one of my favorite descriptions of a person ever. In one of his film clips, he's on the TV and the family's watching it. And I think a little girl says that they describe Steve Vai's album covers. Like, they look at his album covers and he's like, He's like an upside down question mark, but with hair. Mm-hmm. And I love that description. It's a really fun description. He's like this tall, lean guy with like long brown hair. And he just has a very, when you hear how he plays a guitar, and I'm sure I can play it to you after we record, you'll be like, oh yeah, that does sound like how Bill and Ted's music is at the beginning and at the end of this movie. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of highlight that because Primus are in this movie. Mm-hmm. Did you notice that?
Well, they said they were there.
But did you ever think about? I always forget that they're here, and then when they showed up, I'm like, oh yeah, Primus is in this movie.
Yeah, I don't think I knew who Primus were when I watched this movie previous times. So,
oh, you didn't watch South Park?
Not yet. I didn't start until like 2013.
Ah, so you weren't aware of them being the theme song for South Park for a bit there. I guess technically still, I don't know. They've remixed it so much. I don't know if
it's been a very long time since it was just the plain, original one.
Yeah, they've altered it so much. That can you technically still say it's
Primus? The vocals are still there.
But then yeah, it's still Primus then. So there you go. It's that's all I've got for you. I can't think of too much else other than more gushing, more praising. Great direction. I love the direction in this. Is it controversial to say that this is the better Bill and Ted movie? For me, it's just it's just a fact. What do you think? You mean you're a bigger fan of both of them? Like, I like the first movie fine. But I know some people get really up in arms with this kind of shit. It's like, I know, you sacrilegious piece of shit. The first one's gold. I remember when we were on our friend's podcast, Sandemus, I just casually said, like, the second one's better. And there was like a big, ooh, like, ooh, you can't just walk in and say Bogus Journey's better. Why? Did you see the movie?
No, it's only ever really been, these two films that I watch with my stepbrother and I. It's like, oh, well, we have the one we prefer, and that's the universe of these films. They're the films that we watch, and, we like that one more, so no.
I was going to ask a question, but I already know the answer in a way, where I was going to ask, is there that movie, series, franchise, whatever, where they have that divide, where it's like the first one's the best, or no, the second one's the best, and you have your like strong preference for the first, and then I realized you're a Terminator fan. You like the first Terminator. I like the second one more.
I think the second one's better, but I like the first one.
You like that's the thing. Yeah, and well, I like Alien more than Aliens. I know you haven't seen Aliens. You've only seen Prometheus, the best Alien
yeah, that's
movie.
right. Took me a second to register that.
Yeah, it takes me a second to register Prometheus as a film as well.
Prometheus, the god.
Mm.
I'm not sure. I've mentioned before. I've recently watched the first 2 Gundam shows. I know that the second one is considered kind of like the Empire Strikes Back of the whole franchise, and it was good. But I think I kind of like the first one more. So maybe that's a recent example.
For me, it's not my favorite, but I'm a big defender of Star Trek 3: The Search for Spock. Often not considered to be one to defend. People like it, but it's the Star Trek or every odd-numbered movie is terrible. Well, I don't agree. I like Star Trek 3. I like it maybe as much as Star Trek 4, which is a controversial take. People say that's sacrilege, but that's me. My favorite's Star Trek 6, so there you go. But yeah, I just wanted to ask you that before we kind of wrap out here, because yeah, we're just casually talking about this, and I'm sure there's somebody listening being like, how fucking dare they just with ease talk about this as the better film, when no, you know how people get, whereas it's like, oh, you can't just say Godfather 2 is better than Godfather 1 or whatever.
I guess that's another one where I think I like the first one more, but
yeah. I like both. It's been a while.
They're both fine. Yeah.
Second one has my favorite.
They're both good. But...
The second one has my favorite scenes in it, though. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's
with
Fredo.
So the second one's all Fredo.
I knew it was you.
I love that character. I love that actor.
I don't know if we're ever so religious in our, as you said, like sacrilege. I don't know if we ever really. Have any sort of inclinations to, you can't like that one more, but then again, maybe something's going to come along that proves me wrong, so I don't know.
I don't know. If I hear people tell me that they think X-Men 2 is one of the weaker X-Men movies, I'll raise my eyebrows. That's what I'll say. I raise my eyebrows up going, are you fucking sure about that? X-Men 3 better than X2? Fuck off.
And then they'll say yes, and you'll be like, fair enough.
Fair enough. All right, well, I'm going to recommend the movie for next episode. Of course, we both recommend Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. We both like this.
No.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
My recommendation for next episode, we are hopefully going to have some guests on. I won't say who, just in case it doesn't work out, but we hopefully are going to have some guests on to give them some cultural appreciation.
Put them in our box, as it is.
Put them in an Australian film environment. I am recommending a film that we have actually both seen before.
Yeah, you showed it to me a couple of years ago for Australia Day.
You already know what film I'm talking about.
I happened to accidentally glance at some Twitter DMs because when you're using TweetDeck, it shows you preview.
Well, I'm choosing Idiot Box, a film from the mid-90s starring Ben Mendelsohn, who's gone on to be quite the well-known actor nowadays for international people. But for me, he was that great Australian actor. I hope more people appreciate Ben Mendelsohn one day. Idiot Box, 1996, if I'm not mistaken. Where can people find this movie? Well, you can find...
No, Ryan's asking, where can people find this movie?
Where can people find this movie? I don't know where people can find this. All I know is I have my copies of it. It may be a difficult film to find, and I can understand the frustration with that, but I'm recommending it because I think it's a film deserving to be talked about. Some more, we've referenced it over the years on this podcast, especially when we did Two Hands. So I'm keen to give it a discussion. So people, next episode, Idiot Box, make sure to find a copy if you can. Give it a watch. Join us. And that's all I've got for you. Bartek, where can people find us on the internet?
People can find us on the internet, very true, at places such as Twitter, Facebook, both as Spit and Polish Presents. We also have a YouTube channel where we upload our episodes. And hey, that's not the only place where the episodes get uploaded. We put them on our Podbean, and then that gets put onto the everything pretty much. The iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts,
Spotify.
Google Play, Spotify. I always have to keep asking my brother, like, am I on Spotify? And he's like, yes, you are.
He's so angry.
He's not angry, but it's like, yeah, every time I go on it, it's on the front page because I subscribed or something.
He's so angry.
It always feels like I'm very, oh, am I on that? Am I on that popular service?
Peasant? Little peasant brother?
Peasant who uses that service.
Brother?
It's not over yet. Listen to the end of the podcast. It's really good.
Children, are we on the Spotify? Are we on the most popular site in the world? Joe Rogan's hosting site, Spotify. Oh man, I hope this ages real well.
Yes.
For that comment.
The only other detail that we have to add is that you can email us directly at spitandpolished@gmail.com.
All of those are in the description below. Hit us up with a recommendation if you feel like, or any questions, comments, queries, or concerns. But I'm feeling great. I'm proud of us because we held back. And I wasn't too sure if you were going to do it at the beginning or end. And maybe I'm ruining your end bit if you had one in mind. But I'm very proud that we didn't do any impressions of Bill and Ted. I'm proud that we didn't do like the see you later, dude, all that. I know many people love that. I was waiting for you to do that at some point. Like, I knew I wasn't going to do it. I was just going to be like, hello. And I was waiting for you to do like one of those. And we held off. And I'm proud of us for holding off. That's my end word. I'm just, pride's a sin, but I'm engaging in that sin.
No, it's very good. Very good. Yeah, I obviously I didn't do it because the thought didn't occur to me, but you know, now that you mention it, Ryan.
Yeah.
Look forward to next week. Because it's going to be excellent!
Oh, fuck!